Cupertino Senior Television Productions, in cooperation with the League of Women Voters of Cupertino-Sunnyvale, is pleased to present an analysis of the measures on the June 2010 ballot.
Proposition 15 is described as a pilot project for public campaign financing. Right now, state law forbids the use of public funds for political candidates' campaigns, and that law has been formed by a series of initiatives. So the only way to change it is to bring proposed changes to the voters. The legislature cannot make these changes. The ban on public funding is true for all statewide elections and almost all local elections. Campaign finance laws are overseen by the Fair Political Practices Commission and the Secretary of State. The Fair Political Practices Commission is the entity that can fine candidates or donors who break election laws. The Secretary of State is the one who keeps track of who donates money and how much to each political campaign, and you can find out all this information at Cal Access, which is part of the Secretary of State's website. The Secretary of State also monitors lobbyists. Those are the people who try to influence public policy on behalf of their employers or their clients. Lobbyists have to register with the Secretary of State every 2 years, and at that time they pay a $25 fee that covers the cost of record keeping and registration. So Proposition 15 makes two major changes to election law. One, it changes the law to allow public financing of public political campaigns, and two, it sets up one public finance program just for Secretary of State. The pilot program is set to start with the 2014 election and expire in 2019, so it would just cover the 2014 and 2018 elections. But the proposition also gives the legislature the power to extend that program or to expand it to other offices. The pilot program works like this. If Proposition 15 passes, then candidates for Secretary of State who agree to obey strict spending limits and forgo private financing, including their own, and who qualify by collecting several thousand $5 contributions can receive funds from the state to pay for their campaign. There's a base level of funding, and that can be supplemented to match spending by a privately financed opponent, up to a point, of course.
Okay, so then do all candidates receive the same amount?
Not necessarily. There's a distinction made between major party candidates, minor party candidates, and independent party candidates. Currently, the major parties are the Republican and Democratic parties, but the definition of major is just based on how well the parties have done in recent elections, so the names of the major parties could change. As far as the differences go, for one thing, candidates who aren't affiliated with any party won't need and won't get funds for a primary election campaign. But if they can come up with 15,000 of those $5 qualifying contributions, they can get equal funding in the general election. Major party candidates need 7,500 qualifying contributions, and the candidates from other parties only need 3,750 to get some funding, or 15,000 qualifying contributions to get full funding. The minimum level of support is higher for major party candidates than for candidates from minor parties. On the other hand, if a minor party candidate gets those 15,000 qualifying contributions, meaning they've got broader support, more money becomes available to them. If they're in the general election, that broadly supported minor party candidate would have the same level of funding as a candidate from a major party. But to get public funding in the general election, any candidate affiliated with a party has to have participated in the public financing program in the primary. And any candidate who participates in the public financing program in the primary and goes on to the general election has to continue to follow the public finance laws.
Okay, so then who pays for all of this?
Proposition 15 raises funds for the campaigns by increasing that licensing fee paid by lobbyists, so it would go from $25 every 2 years to $700 every 2 years. Those qualifying contributions raised by the candidates, those would also become campaign funding money. What are the hot topics in the debate on Proposition 15?
Well, the people signing arguments in favor come from AARP, the California Nurses Association, and California Church Impact. They say that Prop 15 frees politicians from fundraising so they can do their jobs. Signing the arguments against are officials from the California Senior Advocates League, California Manufacturers and Technology Association, and the LA Police Protective League. They say that Proposition 15 is full of loopholes and will not stop the influence of special interest money. So what happens if both Proposition 14 and 15 pass?
Fortunately, they're not really butting heads in principle, because when that happens, if both propositions pass, it's always a messy court case. There is, of course, the potential for some conflict between Proposition 14 and 15 if they both pass. For example, some of the funding formulas in Proposition 15 talk about a partisan primary, and we wouldn't even have a partisan primary anymore if Proposition 14 passes. We don't know exactly how it'll all pay out. But the legislative analyst points out there are actually several ways to reconcile the two. If both of these pass, it can be done through legislative action, through court action. There could even be another ballot measure.